Sponsors.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack, and you may find yourself in another part of the world, and you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile, and you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down.
And here it is, Wednesday, 2 o'clock. Time to waste another perfectly good hour with Butch Maxwell's Complete Waste of Airtime. Today, glad that you're aboard. Glad to have you around here today. Got some stuff happening today, and I'm looking forward to it. Beautiful day outside. This is March going out like a lamb. However, it's not really going out until tomorrow, and it's going to be a little colder tomorrow. So we'll just say it's going out like a lamb today. How's that, Lola? What do you think?
I can live with that.
You can live with that?
I can.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to get really terribly cold tomorrow, but it's going to be a little cooler than it is. If you can enjoy it today, then by all means, get out there and do that. Find a reason just to go out and take a walk and take some fresh air in. It feels fantastic. Today I've got a few things on my agenda, but as always, your calls are welcome at 304-214-1600. A couple of things I'm bringing to the table today is I do want to talk a little bit more. I did talk to Bill Fabio on Monday about the Oscars. I have a few other thoughts that I do want to share about that, and then we can let that go to rest, and including what people are not talking about after the Oscars. And there is some news on both Hunter Biden and Donald Trump as far as investigations are going, and a little bit of entertainment news too. I want to start it off right off though with kind of a sad note. Actor Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with aphasia, and his career is probably over. This is a mental disorder, a cognitive disorder, and it makes it difficult for people to talk. Usually it's communications. A lot of people get this after having a stroke or something like that, or a brain tumor. And we don't really know what Willis's condition is. It's brought this on, but officially they're saying he's taking a pause in his career. I don't know. I don't know whether that's actually whether they're actually going to see him come back or not. But that is sad news. So I wanted to get that out right away. Also, I don't know, are you a big fan of the Netflix show Ozark, Lola? Or a fan at all?
I am. However, I have not watched last season or this.
Oh, you haven't watched season 4 yet. Okay, so me and much of the rest of America, we are waiting for part 2 of season 4, and they finally announced, I think just today, that Ozark will be returning on April 29th for its final half season to wrap everything up. And if you've not been watching it, I urge you to check it out. It's a very compelling show. It stars Jason Bateman and a really amazing cast, and it's a very, very entertaining show. Pretty serious, and it has to do with money laundering and drugs and things like that.
A lot.
A lot. There's a lot to it.
And there's a lot of violence.
Yes, there is some violence. That's
yes,
true.
Those families are not that hospitable there.
They're pretty nasty to one another. But I am eager to see how that turns out. So, we got a phone call already. All right. Who do we have? Do we know?
Dan.
Dan. Hey, Dan. How are you?
Hey, I want you to mark this day, March 3rd, 22.
Okay.
You're going to find Will Smith the same way you found Whitney Houston.
Find who?
Will Smith.
Yeah.
Whitney Houston.
Okay.
And Will Smith are going to have the same demise.
Oh no.
Whitney Houston was the sweetheart of America, and Will Smith was the most wholesome guy you ever met in your life.
Right. Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. If you remember the beginning of the Oscars when that comedian made the comment about the Smiths' open marriage, but the only one that has an open marriage is Jada.
Yes.
See, a lot of people missed that, okay?
Yeah.
And he's he's being made a fool of in front of the world, and she just runs that guy like a puppet. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Ye-
then for him to act the way he did, there was no need for him to act that way. But I'm telling you, something bad's going to happen to this gentleman because, she's got him. He don't know to wind his head or scratch his watch.
Yeah, I don't know how much she influenced him to get up there in the seconds in
Well,
between. He laughed at the joke originally.
He did laugh at the joke, but a lot of people aren't. She called him a little bee.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what got up. He was laughing, and she called him a female dog.
Yes.
She told him he was a little female dog, and that's when he got up.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
But you realize this public relations people were sitting at him for 45 minutes. They were sitting trying to come up with a plan what it was going to be when he left out of there.
Yeah, that's true. And what he did was he went up and made this incoherent acceptance speech in which he cried and he tried to justify what he did, and it really, I don't know about what you thought, Dan. I thought it just felt it was pathetic. It just wasn't, and he didn't. And in that time, he did not apologize to the person he hit, which was Chris Rock.
Well, this is just my opinion. Like Whitney Houston said, cocaine's good, but crack is whack.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's
I got one other question.
Sure.
I got one more question for you.
Okay.
Okay. The other question would be, when did we decide to make the McClure House the new face of the Blues Fest?
Oh, well, that's Bruce Wheeler is in charge of the Blues Fest, and he's got an arrangement with the new owners of the McClure Hotel, Roxy, and they're.
Yeah.
They need him for entertainment, and he knows blues, music, so he's very good.
This is the reason why I'm puzzled, because I don't know how many high water things they had. When the electric water was getting up to electricity, and they moved it down to River City. How many years, that facility saved his rear end, and for him to dance with the new girl in town, that's kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
When River City for years bailed him out, or he would have lost all that money. I just think that's uncalled for it. But I'm just one person.
I know, and I don't know the ins and outs of that, and I have a great affinity for River City too, and I'm not sure how this panned out, but I think it was fairly congenial in that Bruce works for, as I understand it, he's working for or with the Roxy Corporation as their entertainment director.
Right.
So I think that's the reason.
Well, he took his royalty to the new girl in town.
Yeah, I guess so. Dan, thanks for your call. We got another call coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Who we have, Lola?
Tom?
Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hey, Butch. Pretty good.
Good to talk to you.
Was just waiting for the winds to blow harder. I'm going to go notch a tree, and then hopefully the wind will blow it down. 'Cause I don't have guts enough to stand there. If it falls the wrong way, I'm not there to witness.
There you go. Yeah.
Wait for a nice 40-mile-an-hour breeze. I think that punch or slap or whatever you call it was staged. I mean, if I would have hit him, not that I'm a tough guy, he would have been sitting in a dentist chair right now, having a couple of teeth.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when we saw him again. He looked pretty unscathed. He was just kind of a little flustered.
At least a little blood or something.
Yeah.
Come on, a little cut on his cheek needs 2 stitches.
That's true. Maybe we should be, condemning Will Smith for not hitting hard enough.
Well, I mean, he's the guy that learned how to throw fake punches all his life.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean,
he did.
But Jane Timken, she sent me 2 of these things in the mail, and I tried emailing her, and the only way to get a hold of these people, I had to join her staff or something. So, but I built swimming pools for 40 years, and it used to be a pump motor would last like 15 years. But now you're lucky to get 2 or 3 years because Timken, the bearing, in Canton, and then there was Clevite in Lansing, used to make bearings, and they used to last like 15 years. And
Yeah.
so now you're lucky to get 3 or 4 years.
Huh.
And it's just a $2 bearing on the shaft. There's 2 of them on the shaft of these motors. And so I was trying to elaborate all this to her, and I says, I wish you could just spend 1 week in Tom Jigga's boots or something, because you're worth $28 million. I'm worth $50,000. And then I'd like to see you live half your life with no health care and stuff. And she sent me back this lovely letter inviting me to her staff and thanking me for and all this crap. I'm going to be on her email list. I don't think they read my letter.
they just sort of mechanically responded then, huh?
Well, and I did add, I'd like to see 20,000 of the insurrectionists go to Mar-a-Lago with their monster trucks with their flags hanging out of the back and do donuts all over the golf course at Mar-a-Lago. I think she must have not read that part of it.
Yeah, probably not.
Everybody, I watched all these debates. Well, they were on Channel 9 and they were on Channel 44.
Mm-hmm.
And all but like two of the Republican guys said that they were, they have Trump on their side.
Right.
I'm not so sure that would be a feather in my cap.
Yeah, I don't know, but apparently it is in some places. I don't know if you watch local news, but the wars between McKinley and Mooney over who is the Trumpiest of them all is just like, it's amazing to me.
Really?
That, it's just incredible. If you tune in local news or any local television broadcast, you'll see this.
Well, something about his campaign stuff, he says it was $2 million, and here it's like $200 million or something. I think he got 3 decimal points off on his tax form.
Trump, Trump does that all the time. So,
Well, but I mean, something's going to catch up to this guy sooner or later. I mean,
you would
fight
think.
off all the prosecutors.
You would think, but it's been going on. My wife keeps saying, this is going on too long,
What?
And just this week, there appears to be even more and more. In fact, a judge ruled that Trump, more likely than not, attempted to obstruct Congress. That does not have the force of law in this case. It's just a matter of adding into the January 6th investigation committee just some additional fodder for their fire. and on top of that,
on that day.
Pardon me?
He tried to obstruct him on.
Yeah. They said, it was clear that on January 6th that he was trying to obstruct justice, that he did a number of things in advance of that. Even Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been dragged into this because his wife was apparently also trying to get to find legal ways that Mike Pence could ignore some of the ballots from some of the states.
Overturn the election.
Yeah.
I did see that.
It's just crazy.
No, but something should happen to these people. I mean, how do these people go through life? I mean, the bankers called it the Trump effect because he'd only pay you back pennies on the dollars when he borrowed all this money for his skyscrapers and whatnot and stuff.
Yeah.
They were lucky to get any money back off the guy. And it's just.
I know. It's crazy. The rich get the advantages, and the poor people don't get them at all. We could, there have been. I keep seeing cases where Johnson & Johnson has Johnson & Johnson is declaring bankruptcy to protect themselves against a lawsuit from women who say that some of their products had asbestos in it, and it did. So in order to keep from having to pay out anything, they have declared bankruptcy. What they did was they rolled over one. It's not the entire Johnson & Johnson company. It's just one little company, and they decided this little company is the one that was responsible for that asbestos, and they're the ones who are bankrupt. Good luck getting money from them. And the federal government has let this happen. It's just crazy. The same thing happened with the opioid epidemic too, and that family.
We used to have asbestos on our boiler pipes in our basement. And we had a pool table underneath there, and once in a while we'd hit the things with the pool cue, and there would be dust on them. And
yeah.
But I'm certain that there was some asbestos.
I imagine there was
in our environment. I slept in my bedroom for like 5 years. I mean, but I came out unscathed. I hope.
Yeah, you haven't, as far as you know, developed mesothelioma or anything. So yeah, good.
All right. Hey, thanks.
Hey, always good to talk to you, Tom. Thanks for calling. Yeah, I do want to tease this. Coming up in the second half, I do have a guest, and I have a serious situation that I want to talk about with this guest. I will be welcoming the president of the West Virginia Nursing Association board. Her name is Joyce Wilson. She's also a nurse practitioner as well as being a nurse. So, and what we're going to be talking about the criminal charges that have been placed against, well, actually, a nurse was found guilty in an accidental injection death in this past week, and it has some pretty serious implications. So I do want to talk with her about that and get some additional insight. Getting back to the Oscars, though, just for a second, because we kept talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock and all that, but there were a few other things that might be worth talking about. I did mention the awards and things like that, but to me, the show itself was just the kind of a show that you might describe with a four-letter word that begins with S. There was so much wrong with it. For one thing, the three hosts, I thought they're very funny people, but together they were the most unfunny bunch of people I've ever seen. They didn't seem comfortable together. There was no chemistry between and among Regina Hall, Amy Schumer, and Wanda Sykes. They had some lame DJ that they introduced. For some reason, in the third hour, they got rid of the DJ and brought in an orchestra, which is what they usually do. That was just strange. There were some other things. They did probably the highlight. One of the best things I thought about the Oscars, and it generally is the in memoriam section, where they pay tribute to actors and other influential people mostly in the motion picture business who have died in the past year. But there were several omissions that I wonder, why did you not? And, now they did some good stuff in this. They had a couple of people come out and pay tribute to people that they worked with very closely who had passed away in this past year, including Bill Murray doing a tribute to Ivan Reitman. Some good stuff, but who did they miss? They missed Ed Asner. He died this past year. Ed Asner was not mentioned. Norm Macdonald, okay, not really a movie star, but, probably, there were a lot of people who weren't movie stars that they memorialized too. And Bob Saget, too, also passed away. And so I don't know. I wonder why they didn't mention those. The other thing, two other things I guess I've got to mention is Beyonce. I think I'm in the minority here in thinking that was it was a terrible song, and she's an amazing performer. I love Beyonce. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, just saying I did not like the song, did not like the performance. I just thought it was just pompous, and it sounded a lot better. Her song "Be Alive" sounded a lot better in the movie King Richard than it did in that live performance. That's just a matter of my taste, though. The other thing was Lady Gaga bringing out Liza Minnelli, and I found it just really sad. Poor Liza Minnelli, she's 76 years old, which is not ancient. It's old, but it's older, but it's not ancient. But she was clearly confused and unable to speak effectively, and she was embarrassed, and she just should not have been put in that situation. And I know Lady Gaga didn't mean, or I don't even know if it was her idea, but she was there kind of trying to help her. And when Minnelli got a little bit confused, then Lady Gaga said, "I got you," and Minnelli said, "I know, thank you." It was very sweet, but it was also it was painful to watch. For those of us who've enjoyed Liza Minnelli over the years and stuff, it was nice to know that she's still alive and still smiling and still beautiful. But it was sad to see her in that condition and just wheel her out there for that. I don't know. I just thought it was. I wish they wouldn't have done that. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you have any ideas on this? We could talk about it. We got another couple of minutes before we're going to take a break. So I don't know. Beyond that, the Oscars, there were a number of other kind of weird things happening. The presenters made fun of Leo DiCaprio's taste in women, apparently, making a joke that he dates a lot of younger women. I don't know, that wasn't too bad, but there were a number of things that people weren't talking about with the Oscars. I watch these things with a kind of a morbid fascination because, frankly, I hate award shows. Really do. I hate everything about them, and yet I watch them, or at least the Oscars, because I love movies. And but I feel disappointed by these Oscar ceremonies. So I don't know. All right. Well, I've wasted the first half hour that we have to spend together pretty well. Do we have a phone call? Okay, let's take that call before we go to a break. Who is it? Who is it? Durbin. Hey, Durbin, how are you? Durbin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. How you doing?
Okay, I like the way you guys changed your number 1-800-CALL Lola.
Call Lola. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna tell you about that slap.
Yeah.
That's the most funniest thing I ever seen in my life. That was so phony.
Phony,
Because
really?
you don't think so? I mean, listen, the guy that was doing the stuff, and he's a pretty good sized fella.
Yeah, he is. The thing is, it's so off his brand. He's always had this image of being, the nice guy and the good, reasonable guy. And even when he got up there and was talking afterwards, he seemed to be trying to apologize for it, and he was crying, and he's like,
You watch that tape again. Let me tell you something. When somebody cold cocks you like that, you drop a little bit. You don't turn your head with the slap. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm saying the whole thing was a bunch of phooey set up, and that's the only way they can get their ratings up. I mean, because those shows are pathetic anymore. I mean, it's just, that's my opinion. I'm going to stick to it. But
I agree. I agree. They're pathetic. Yes. I don't know that it was fake, but I thought it was at first. But I sort of thought, after seeing the replay, that maybe it wasn't. Did he hit him in the face or the shoulder? Could you tell?
Well, to me, it was the way he kind of turned his body a little bit when the hand come. He was already ready for the blow.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, it looked, what I'm saying, it looked like the old cowboy movies where you could tell.
Yeah.
It looked like wrestling where they
The fake slap. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go, buddy. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's just my opinion. But like I said, I wear glasses, and I'm close to 70 years old, so I don't see things. But I've been cold cocked a few times, and I'm thinking, that don't look real normal.
Yeah, you would have responded more. I would have too, but I'm not,
Yeah.
So all right, good. Hey, Durbin, thanks so much for your call. We're going to go to our break.
Hey, I thought I'd better come in and call in and brighten the show up a little bit.
Please
I'll
do.
talk to
Please
you
do. Call me every week. I miss you if you don't. All right, thanks. Okay, we are going to take a little break, and when we come back, with any luck, we'll be talking here with West Virginia Nursing Association President Joyce Wilson, who's also a nurse practitioner, and we'll be talking about the implications of the guilty verdict found in a medical issue with a nurse that just happened last week, and the implications that go from that. All right, you're listening to Butch Maxwell's Complete Waste of Bear Time right here on the Watchdog Network, and we'll be right back.
Former Mountaineers make their case for a spot in the National Football League. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Caridi. That story coming up on today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics.
At Kroger, we believe fresh means holding our produce to a higher standard. That's why we do up to a 27-point inspection on our produce. Like for citrus, we check for things like scarring and sunburn. Yep, oranges can sunburn, and we'll make sure you never see it. In fact, we only allow the best oranges, lemons, and grapefruits to reach our shelves. Because when it comes to fresh for everyone, we believe the juice is worth the squeeze. Kroger, fresh for everyone. 42 million Americans struggle with hunger, yet 35% of the food in this country is wasted. Those aren't just numbers, they're our neighbors, your daughter's friend from school, the family of 4 next door. The Kroger Company's Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation is committed to making fresh food accessible to all by ensuring it never goes to waste. Together, we can help end hunger. Learn more at zerohungerzerowastefoundation.org.
The Mountaineer football team went through spring practice drills yesterday morning, and then in the afternoon, it was time for WVU's annual Pro Day. That is the day that NFL teams send their scouts in to take a look at potential professional players. West Virginia had a half dozen of them ready to go to work. WVU head coach Neil Brown says that's always an important day.
It's something obviously that's very significant for these 6 individuals, but I think it's important for our program too. Is we always talk about 3 goals. We want to develop men, we want to win, we want to graduate in place. I tell parents this up front. is the graduation piece. We've been very fortunate. Credit to our academic staff. We graduated 100% the year before I got here, and these last 3 years, everybody that exasperated their eligibility graduated 100%. That's a credit to our academic staff. And what we're really working on is placement. Well, there's no better place that we can put our student athletes that they're going to make a better first-year salary is in the NFL. Now, all of them are going to make it, but that's the goal when you come and play big-time college football. Excited for these guys. They have the opportunity. Today's a showcase day for them. Letty obviously had the combine. He'll have a follow-up today, but for these other 5 guys,
And you may find yourself in another part of the world. And you may find yourself living.
On there. NFL owners approved a modified proposal for overtime that will guarantee each team a possession, but only in the postseason. The rule for the regular season games, which allows the team with the first possession to win if it scores a touchdown, will remain unchanged. Competition Committee Chairman Rich McKay said there was not enough support among owners to pass a rule unless it was amended to postseason only. It ultimately passed on a vote 29-3. If the score remains tied in the postseason after each team has had a possession, the game will be decided in traditional sudden death. The PGA Tour is in San Antonio, Texas. The Valero Texas Open gets underway tomorrow. Women's Final Four Friday, men's Final Four Saturday. For lightning fast sports updates as they happen, download the free Score app today. I'm John Thayer with the Sports Flash, powered by the Score on the Watchdog.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Check it out, Limu, a roadside carnival.
Step right up, folks. Test your strength. Come see the fire-breathing baby.
Let's fan out and tell people that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Look, an emu wearing sunglasses.
Limu, you're famous. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. At the United States Postal Service, we deliver packages fast and affordably so you can give your customers what they want when they need it. We're delivering for one-stop shops, mom and pops, pop-ups, startups, retail, wholesale, large scale, small biz, big box, customers, customizers. So no matter what business you're in, we'll always be delivering for you. USPS, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/delivery.
Introducing our new redesigned 7 News app. Our new app features a sleek, modern design, an easy-to-navigate home screen with quick access to local news content and a localized weather forecast. Subscribing to notifications is easier, and with one tap, you have access to recent push notifications. There are more ways to watch and find video. To get the new WTRF 7 News app, just update the latest version or download the WTRF 7 News app in your Apple or Google Play Store by searching WTRF.
Hi, this is Hoppy Kercheval. Join me weekdays at 10:06, right after the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe for Statewide Talk Line. I'll have guests, conversations, texts, phone calls on all the big stories affecting West Virginia. So tune in weekdays right here on FM 98.1 and FM 97.7, The Watchdog.
And you may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. And you may find yourself in another part of the world. And you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. And you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Letting the days go by. Letting the days go by. Into the blue, oh yeah. Once in a lifetime.
I just had to let that go on a little bit. Okay, well, Lola, who is that doing my theme song there?
Angelique Pujol.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. A little Latino spin on this. That's great.
And she's up for an Emmy for her
Oh.
local music.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for spreading my horizons a little bit. I want to tell you a little story before we get into this, before my guest joins me. On Christmas Eve, 2017, a 75-year-old woman named Charlene Murphy, a longtime resident of the Nashville suburb of Gallatin, checked into Vanderbilt University Medical Center with a subdural hematoma, which is basically a bleeding in her brain. She was treated. Her condition seemed to improve. She was almost ready to leave Vanderbilt by the day after Christmas. And she was set up for a final scan in the hospital's radiology department. Miss Murphy might have been nervous about this or something, so it's fairly common practice to give the patient a sedative before they go into an MRI machine because they can feel very claustrophobic. She was indeed given a sedative by a licensed nurse, Redonda Vaught, and that was that. Except that the sedative she was given was not the right one. She was supposed to be given Versed, but she accidentally gave her a dose of Verkernium. I'm probably most likely pronouncing that wrong, but the difference is the sedative is just supposed to relax you. The other is a paralyzing medication that can be used to put a patient into a coma or immobilize a patient for specific reasons, but you have to be on a breathing machine, and the patient was not on a breathing machine. Ultimate result is she went into what is commonly called brain death at that point, and by 2 days after Christmas, she died at 1 a.m. on December 27th. Now, the nurse readily admitted that she had made an error in the medication, and the Board of Nurses ruled that there was no reason to investigate further, that it was a medical error, but it was, such things happen, and, there might have been some disciplinary action with the nurse, but that was it. Well, that wasn't the end of it. Almost a year later, an anonymous tipster filed some charges, and there was an investigation, and suddenly the Board of Nurses changes its mind and says, well, maybe she did do a really bad thing, and she was hauled into court, and she has faced, and for the first time, I think, the first time in at least recent history, a medical error has ended up costing a medical professional very severely, not just losing a license or anything like that, but actually she could face up to 8 years in jail. She was found guilty just the other day. The reason I'm bringing this up is because the implications of this are pretty severe. Up to this point, generally speaking, nurses anything like this that came up regarding nurses was handled by a governing board, like the nurses governing board, and not subject to criminal liability. However, now we're going to put nurses in jail for making a mistake. Now, we don't do that to cops. We don't do that. There are certain, protected public servants, that we think that should be protected. But this has a really chilling impact on the medical. On all medical practitioners. So, with that in mind, I want to welcome West Virginia Nursing Association President Joyce Wilson to the line. Hi, Joyce, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Thank you for joining me on such short notice, too. It was just today that we managed to connect, and I appreciate your taking the time out of your busy life to talk with us. I assume you heard what I said to try to set this up. Was there anything that I got wrong other than mispronouncing the drug's name or anything that I should clarify?
I think that the story, as I understand it, was what you got that correct. Okay. Was it a friend of yours? Did I hear you say?
No, this wasn't a friend of mine. I was just talking in a very personal way about this person that I got this news report.
Yeah. Okay. And the medication is pronounced vancuronium.
Okay, vancuronium. I was
Vancuronium.
fairly certain. Now that's typically used to paralyze patients on on purpose, right?
It is. It's used only if somebody is on a ventilator.
Right.
Because they cannot breathe. It doesn't really put them into a coma. They are actually aware.
Oh, okay.
That you have to give them another medicine like Versed to sedate them, to make them. Versed is a medicine that you don't need to be intubated. It's typically what you give somebody that's having like a colonoscopy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they don't need to be, but that does sedate them and alter the way that they're, they go to sleep but not paralyzed. So
right.
You give those two drugs together a lot, and so somebody that's on a ventilator in the ICU, for instance, that's thrashing about, and you might not be able to keep them safe, keep them from pulling out their tube, or somebody, of course, in the operating room that you need them to lay still.
Right.
They're having their surgery, yeah.
Right. Now, what my understanding is that she got these medications from some kind of a machine or a vending, well, I've been told a vending machine, but I assume this is not like,
It's kind of like, I guess you could call it a vending machine. It's different there's McKesson, there's Pyxis, there's different name brands, but what it is medicines that are controlled or medicines that are that need to be kept in a place where they can't just be given accidentally, like you wouldn't want that in somebody's medicine drawer, like you would put their cholesterol medicine.
Right.
So, and the only people that are allowed in there are nurses or pharmacists. You have to have either they use your fingerprint or you have your own password to get in there. It's something that is very, very controlled.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have, I mean, I know you weren't there, of course, but do you have any kind of speculation about how this nurse might have made this error to begin with?
This whole thing is so tragic in so many different ways. I mean, she made some mistakes along the way, but from what I understand, from what I've read about the story, that particular machine was not correctly working. And you were supposed to type in let's say, for instance, a 5-letter password, but it was not taking it. And so you had to override, what is called override it.
Yeah.
And so that was something that the hospital knew about and did not fix.
Yeah.
And so that she did those things, she overrode it, and that understanding that's what she needed to do to get in. Now, there are pop-ups that come up there. One of the things is this medicine is a paralytic, but those pop-ups come up there sometimes, and they're not accurate. So there were some things that, were red flags. Versed comes in a tiny little vial, and it's liquid.
Yes.
And you draw it up and give it. Vancuronium has to be what's called reconstituted. It's powder, and you have to put some saline in there. That should have triggered that, but at the same time, the way I understand it, the patient was put in front of, down in the X-ray department, was waiting there on a gurney to go into the PET scan. She was claustrophobic and wanted to be sedated before she went into the scanner. And this nurse was somebody that was like the float nurse. She went from unit to unit. She transported people. So she was called to the emergency department to help with the procedure there.
Yeah.
And so on the way, she went down to the X-ray department and gave that medication. But she's got all these things on her mind. I mean, like, she's being multitasked. That's one of the things that is happening in nursing today. And it's one of the things that we are advocating for, and actually in going to legislation to say that it is an unsafe environment, that you cannot take care of this many people and have this many people's lives in your hand and think the way you need to think critically all the time and being pulled in so many different directions.
Yeah.
And so that's what she gave the medicine, and then she went to the emergency room to take care of that other thing. So she was being pulled in many different directions.
Yeah.
And I've been there.
Yeah.
I was an ICU nurse for a long, long time. And you have always got like 5 different things happening at one time, and you get one thing done, another one pops up. So you've always got 5 things,
Yeah.
or more.
Yeah.
So she immediately recognizes her mistake and she reports it. And so for telling the truth, for coming forward and telling the truth, and it was a medical error, and she, it's vilifying her and criminalizing her, and we are human beings. It's a fallible system, and so that needs to be looked at.
Yes.
Look at how complicated the situation is. How many people did she have to take care of otherwise?
Yes.
And and that doesn't take away the tragedy of it in any way.
Oh, right,
And I
right.
know she's going to live with this for the rest of her life. And now, it's made national news after all this time. You feel like the hospital, where is the liability? When they knew about this, and it was at least a year later that it starts getting investigated, and that's only because, some whistleblower that just keeps going up the chain of command. So then the nurse then is criminalized.
It seems like Vanderbilt set up the nurse just to take the fall for this.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's so tragic, and you can put yourself in any situation. Like if I was the family of the patient that died, how I would want justice and how would I feel. But the way that I understand it, the family asked them not to press charges.
Yeah, that's what I understand too, that they asked him not to press charges. So there was actually a settlement first before all this came out.
Yes.
And the nurse was very upset. She said, I got to live with this every day of my life. It was a horrible mistake. She admitted to the mistake. She admitted to the mistake, which is what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And yet now, what's this? What does this mean going forward? Are nurses no longer going to admit it when they do make a mistake? I mean, they could be criminalized.
They've made it. They're making it that way, that you, instead of coming forward, nurses, want to help people. Nurses are the first people there.
Yes.
Somebody in a hospital starts having, say, a cardiac arrest. It's the nurses that start CPR. It's the nurses that start giving them oxygen through an ambu bag, and then the doctors get there. You want to help people and you want to do the right thing, and then whenever you make a mistake, the way that you kind of look at it critically and say what went wrong. How you have this you kind of.
You got to do a kind of a post-mortem on something.
Yes, you do, and you figure it out, what went wrong and how can we do it better next time. And so now you're making it so nurses don't want to come forward and say the right thing. And the whole thing is just we need we need peer review so that nurses have a safe place to come forward and tell these stories and the things that have gone wrong, and that it's documented that you did it and that you took these right steps, so that whenever it comes to this, you can say, I went to my supervisor, I went to the hospital administration, I did all of these things. But I feel like, where is the accountability for the hospital? They paid a settlement. They've got insurance for that. They didn't really lose any money, but it's what there has to be an avenue for nurses to be able to tell the truth and to make things better going forward.
Yeah,
this is not the way. This is not the way to do it.
It certainly isn't. As far as I can tell, the nurse, Redonda, did everything right. She's been honest and honorable from day one.
Exactly.
The Board of Nurses originally cleared her because all the normal safeguards to protect the patient that day failed. There was a new charting system, and orders weren't going over the system well. All the other nurses were already overriding meds as a standard practice at that time. It wasn't her patient, as you pointed out. She wasn't even familiar with the drugs that she was supposed to give. She had a student, and she was distracted. There was no way to scan the medication in
Yes, there was
radiology?
so many things, yes, that were, and this is what, like I said, we have been trying to say, you do these things and you just want to get through the day, get from, point A to point B to point C and get through the day, stamping out little fires.
Yeah.
But you have created an unsafe environment for nurses to be in. And what's happening is nurses are leaving the bedside.
Yeah.
And now you're going to criminalize them and you're going to put them in jail.
Yeah. Yeah. We're having enough trouble getting nurses.
You think that how is that going to help the nursing crisis? I mean, nobody is thinking, well, if I make a mistake, they'll just say it's okay. That nurses want to mitigate the things that are making them make these mistakes, these life and death mistakes. I mean, it's a tragedy all the way around. The nurse, the patient, of course, passed away. The patient's family,
yeah,
the nurse's family. It's just awful. But this is not the answer. This is not going to. Putting her in jail is not going to solve this problem that caused her to make this mistake.
Not at all. You said there has to be peer review and so. I mean, isn't that you're on the board of nurses? Isn't that some part of what you do?
I'm not on the board of nurses.
Oh,
I'm
you're
the
not.
president of the Nurses Association.
I'm sorry. Okay, I got it.
That's okay. Yeah, the board of nursing does do that. Yes, but we are looking for something that's more of a nurse that maybe hasn't been brought before the board of nursing, something that they've seen maybe in the workplace that didn't really involve their license, that they can come forward and say, I'm seeing how this is affecting nurses at work. I'm seeing how you have, one nurse taking care of too many patients that have too many machines or IV drips and it's not safe.
Yeah.
And so then that you can say that, yes, we're going to look into that. And this, then that way from whatever it is where you start and where you go forward, if you've got a lawyer, whatever, that all of it's documented so that if something goes wrong, you can say, I wanted to stop this and I did all of these things.
Yeah.
So then that way the nurse is protected. And hopefully it's not just protecting the nurse, it's making the public safer, it's making nurses safer, it's making patients safer,
Yes.
it's making things better.
I hope so too, because we definitely need nurses. It's often been said that doctors cure diseases, but nurses heal people, and I kind of like that. Just full disclosure here, I am married to a nurse practitioner, and so this is part of what puts this on my radar.
Right.
But I know that she teaches at Georgetown University in nurse practitioners. And I hear her teaching because she teaches remotely, and she assures nursing students that they won't be punished or retaliated against for admitting mistakes and medical errors. And yet, as soon as you get out in the system, you realize that's probably not so. You've got to be very, certainly you got to be careful. You want to be careful. But beyond that, if you make a mistake, maybe it's better just to shut up about it, which is too bad because then more errors will happen because we aren't catching
more errors
mistakes.
are going to happen. That's right. And it's not, in my opinion, people hear that this nurse gave the wrong medicine to this patient and they think that that's it. That's how it was. It was cut and dry. But they don't hear the rest of the story about how she's pulled in so many different directions, how she's got a student, how the machine didn't work. You couldn't scan it. So they're not hearing anything that says she was set up to fail.
Yeah, she was.
And it's every day. It is every day. And before the pandemic, we were in trouble with nursing shortages. And so, but during the pandemic, there were beds in every hospital in West Virginia that was empty, but there were no nurses to take care of them because nurses said, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Nurses are retiring early. Young nurses especially are the ones that are the most troublesome. It's because they are getting into nursing, and before you know it, they're like in charge of a unit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they aren't prepared for it. They don't have the experience for it, but they end up being the most experienced person there because everybody else is brand new graduate. They've been a nurse for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
And they say, I can't do it, and it's too much, and I'm quitting. And so that's what they're doing. They're quitting. And this year alone in West Virginia, 1,700 nurses did not renew their license.
Wow. Well, just to sort of wrap this up, what can we go forward? Do you think that there needs to be some legislation to protect medical professionals, nurses, and doctors, maybe?
Well, the Nurses Association and the Nurses Association in every state, that's what we are for. I mean, we are trying to get, because everything that nurses do is legislated. Everything that you do at the bedside in nursing homes. So we trying to get transparency and safety bills passed for the hospital to be more transparent. And so we every year we get that legislation closer and closer to passing, but I think that the number one thing that we're thinking about right now is developing the West Virginia Nurses Association, developing this peer review system and ways that nurses can come to us and start, an avenue, a chain reaction avenue that says that we've done this, we reported it to this person, and everybody that should know. So that way the nurses feel like they've got a place where they've got a voice, and it's well documented.
Great. Joyce, thank you so much. You've been listening to Joyce Wilson, who is the president of the West Virginia Nursing Association, and you've wasted another perfectly good hour with me. I hope it wasn't a total waste. Joyce, thank you again.
Is FM 98.1, AM 1600, WKKX Wheeling.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. COVID cases now dominated by the new Omicron subvariant on the rise. The CDC shows 10 states are seeing an uptick. Today, President Biden urged Americans to